Hi, I'm Dr. Bear, and I want to give you a tutorial on files and the terminal. I'll be doing this tutorial on a Mac. This is basically so that you can get familiar with using the terminal, and this is for users who are new to computer programming or high-performance computing. This tutorial, like I said, will be done on a Macintosh. Many or all of these concepts can be transferred to Unix or Linux operating systems. In fact, Mac OS X is based on Unix. These windows and buttons that you can click on are really just dressing for the underlying Unix operating system. Now, Windows is something else, but Windows can allow you to use what they call a terminal emulator, so it behaves exactly like the terminal in Mac or Unix or Linux. The terminal is a powerful text-based way to interact with your computer. This predates the graphical user interface. Like I said, the GUI is a set of windows and images that you can click on. You know, you have things that look like buttons, and then you bring the mouse and then you click on these graphics and then things happen. And so that's why it's a graphical user interface. Now, why would you want to use the terminal? Well, the terminal is excellent for automating tasks. It's actually difficult to automate tasks using the graphical user interface because that takes hand-eye coordination, and you have to manually move the mouse and click on things. And so it's really by definition not automated. The terminal is great for people who want to automate processes and let the computer just carry out a bunch of instructions. Information is stored on our computers in what we call files, and files really are just collections of ones and zeros. We call those ones or zeros bits. They're binary digits, so we make that contraction bits. And files we can classify in a few different ways. One way to classify them is data versus programs. So data files basically are information for your computer to process or to display or to somehow handle or transform. Data could include sound or pictures or video or movies or maybe some experimental data that you obtained. Programs are sets of instructions for your computer to follow. So really, when we talk about computer programming, all we're saying is that you're writing instructions. Another way to classify files is binary versus text. Now, I previously told you that they're all binary, and that's true. However, certain files are what we call text files because your computer will group those bits into sets of 8, and then those sets of 8 are converted to one of 128 different characters, like ABC, lowercase, ABC, uppercase, 1, 2, 3, special characters like star, asterisk. And these text files are meant to be interpreted like that, and then they're meant to be read by users like you or me, or even some computer programs read the text and then follow instructions based on that text. So now that we know about files, let's get our hands dirty in some terminal work here. So first off, we're going to bring up a Finder window. Here's a Finder window, and this is a nice example of a graphical user interface because these are graphics that I can click on and things happen. So I'm going to click on this. This is actually my computer name, and this Mac OS represents the hard drive. So if I click on that, all the information is stored here in the hard drive. So I'm going to also click on this button here, and it's going to display the information like this. So we have my Mac OS, which is the hard drive. In fact, I'm going to click on this one right here. What we have in the Mac OS are these folders. The original and perhaps more technical term for these is directories. These folders or directories can contain other folders or files. So what we see here, this is a folder, and so applications is a folder, and inside applications there's an Adobe folder, and inside the Adobe folder there are other folders, and these other icons represent files, and they actually represent computer programs. Okay, let's now pull up the terminal, and I'm going to also pull up something else, my keyboard viewer, so you can see keys that I press. And there's the keyboard viewer. So to get the terminal on a Mac, there's this magnifying glass, and I'll just type term, and then it completes it for me, so I'll double click there, and then I get this window. What I see here is there's a little bit of information, and then there's another line with more information and a dollar sign. What's important here is the dollar sign. The dollar sign is what we call the command prompt, and the stuff to the left is just information. It can vary from computer to computer based on how you have it set up. So this first capital Blair, that's my name, that's actually the name of my computer. This tilde represents the directory we're looking in. It's actually what we call the present working directory. More on that later. And this lowercase Blair is my username. And then this $sign is the command prompt. Now, the command prompt is the place where we type commands. So if I type text, like A, B, C, D, that could be a command. And to run a command, I press return or enter. So you'll see that here on the keyboard viewer. Now, this actually isn't a valid command. So my computer responds by saying, okay, the command's not found. Well, there are other commands that are valid. Let's try one, pwd. And that tells me what folder I'm looking in. This is pwd for present working directory. This / is what we call the root directory. And then inside the root directory, there's users. And then inside users, there's another folder, Blair. So the first / is the root, and then subsequent / are a delimiter that indicates the line of demarcation between individual directories. Let's take a look here. I'm going to type cd /. CD stands for change directory. So there's a command I'm issuing, change directory, and I put space, and then I /. And what happens now is that tilde has changed to this /, and if I type pwd, present working directory, my computer reports to me that, oh, I'm in the root directory. Let's type ls. That is a command for listing. It lists the contents of a directory. And so we see a bunch of contents, applications, developer, library, so on. Now let's look back here at the Finder, and you notice I've got the Mac OS selected here, and here I have a list of items. Anaconda, applications developer, and you can see here's Anaconda, applications developer, so on. Now, interestingly, you see that more things are listed here than there are here. That's because some of these files and directories are hidden, and so you can see that already that the terminal is sort of giving us more information and more access and more control than is available by default in the Finder, because the Mac wants to make it user-friendly. It wants to make it hard for us to screw things up. But in the terminal, well, we have much more control. So I liken the graphical user interface here to driving an automatic car, and I liken the terminal to driving a standard transmission vehicle. You have more control over what's going on. Okay, so we have CD. We changed the directory up to the root directory. By the way, why is it called root? It's because you can think of it as a tree. This Mac OS is the root, and then it branches off into these other folders or directories, and in these branches they can branch out further to other files, and you see other directories, and you could visualize this as a tree. We can type cd once again. Since we're in the root directory, we can type any of these names here that's actually a directory. So let's type applications. And one nice thing about a lot of these terminals is tab completion. So if applications is the only directory or item here that starts with app, I can hit tab and then it finishes it. And now I hit enter and I type pwd. Okay, now we're in the root folder and then the applications folder. I can type ls again, and now we list the contents of this folder, and you notice that a lot of them end in .app, which signifies to us that these are applications or programs. There's another variant on the ls command. So if I type ls-l, the -l is what we call a flag or an option. So if I hit enter, not only does it list the contents, but it lists a bunch of other information. So, okay, it tells me the name of the file here. So, for example, this is Adobe Extended Script Tool. It tells me when the file was last modified. And then it tells me, for example, here, who has access. I have access. I'm the owner here. And then it tells me more about file types, but we can get into that later. I'll just point out that this D means that this Advanced Mac whatever is actually a folder. And then I have read, write, and execute access, so that means I can run programs in that folder. And then there's some other stuff here. So okay, we have pwd for present working directory, we have ls for listing, we have cd. One thing to point out is we can change directory to something else. I know there's a MATLAB directory here, so, or there's a Mathematica directory, okay. And if I type pwd, you can see, okay, we're in Applications, Mathematica. I can actually use, if I type cd ... it takes me up a directory. So now watch what happens when I do pwd. See, previously we were in the Mathematica directory, now we're looking at the Applications directory. I can type cd space period, and it doesn't change anything because if I type pwd, I'm still in the Applications directory. So this ... and the dot are what we call relative directory names. So ... means up one directory, and dot means this directory. Let's go back down to the MATLAB directory. So cd MATLAB. Oh, there's nothing there. Let's go to Mathematica. I can also, if I type ls, there's another directory here. Let's just type ls-l. You'll see, okay, it's a directory. I can type ls and then contents, and it lists what's in contents. If I type ls without contents, it lists what's here, and the only thing in this directory is contents. I can type ls ... and it tells me what's in the parent directory, or the directory one up. I can type cd and then tilde, and that's a shortcut. This tilde is a shortcut to my user directory. So if I type pwd, you can see it's /users Blair. So this is my personal directory where stuff that I create gets stored by default. Okay, so I'm going to close this terminal, or actually I'm just going to clear it. So I type clear, there's another command. Okay, and so we've already navigated to my personal folder here. Again, just type pwd and shows you I'm there. Let's find it here, users. Okay, there's my name. Now I'll type mkdir for make directory temp. So this is just going to be a temporary thing. And I type enter, it's done it. Now let's see if I can find that temp. Oh, look, here's the temp folder right there. And the GUI tells me there's nothing in it. And if I type ls temp, okay, whoops, ls temp, there's nothing in there. Okay, one other command, rmdir, remove directory, temp, and I think you just saw temp disappear here. You can also use rm to delete files. Use that command very carefully because you can delete files that your computer needs to run. So with that, I'm going to end this tutorial, and in the next tutorial we will discuss how to view text files and how to edit text files. So we'll just end on this note. Thank you for watching. If you found this tutorial helpful, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for your time.